Hello, everyone, and all ships at sea. Skip Healy here with episode 11 of the world-renowned Empty Pockets podcast with Skip Healy. Today's episode features two very, very dear friends of mine who happen to be phenomenal musicians. Guitarist and singer Olivier Leclercq. Olivier, I've known, we talk about a little bit in the podcast for over 35 years now. Great guy, great musician, great singer, just one of the most fun people you'd ever want to spend some time with in your life. Along with Olivier is his very long time friend and my friend of the last 10 or 15 years, Nico Hueber. Nico plays just about anything you hand. I'm afraid to give him a flute. I mean, he's probably in a week, he'll probably be better than I am. But Nico is a really amazing fiddle player. He's studied from classical music through jazz music, and he's ended up in traditional music. So you can just imagine the monster technique this guy has, and you hear it. He has a very aggressive, hard bowing style when he plays the fiddle. He plays also banjo. He plays I think he plays some mandolin in this, and he plays an amazing instrument from the 15th century, a Swedish instrument. He says it's the national instrument of Sweden, and it's called a nyckelharpa. So I always call it the nyckelharpa, but as I said in the earlier advertisement, this is all the proof that I need that in the 15th century they were eating magic mushrooms in Sweden, because this thing, as I say, is the duck-bill platypus of musical instruments, kind of a combination of a violin and a hurdy-gurdy. So it's an amazing instrument with an amazing sound, and he just plays the snot out of this thing, man. I gotta tell you. So I hope you enjoy the podcast. We had a lot of fun making it. This is going to be episode 1 of a 2-part episode featuring my band, the Healy Cartel European Edition. So I hope you enjoy it. Strap in, get a beverage or two of your choice, because it's going to be a wild ride. Hope you enjoy it. And please, please, please subscribe to this damn podcast. Thanks a lot, everybody. See you again soon.
Barkeep, a man could die of thirst in this pub. Somebody buy me a pint, please.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Empty Pockets podcast with Skip Healy, episode 11. I hope you can hear me all right. It seems to be very noisy in here for some reason. Oh, wait a minute. Olivier Leclercq and Nico Hueber from France. Ay, 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 ay.
kick off Empty Pockets podcast number 11 with my brother from another mother right here, Olivier Leclercq, and my cousin from the same other mother. The great, the one and only multi-instrumentalist as you're going to see in a little while, Nico, Hueber. Both of these guys came here from France today to play a few tunes with me. We've done a lot of playing over the years. Olivier and I tried to figure out at my session a month or so ago how long we've known each other, and we stopped counting at about 35 years because, I mean, you can't count a whole lot higher than that. We're simple musicians after all. But we started off with a couple of good old session tunes. First was called the Kesh Jig, and the second was the Cliffs of Moher. Now, a little bit of our background. Olivier and I met in Basel, Switzerland at a session originally. And a couple of days after that, I had a concert in a place called the English Speaking Club. And you went there to speak English, basically. It was a lot of expat Brits that were in there, and a lot of people who just enjoyed speaking the English language and lashing a few pints. And it was a nice atmosphere all together. And when Olivier were playing in the session, I was living in County Tipperary at that time, spent a lot of time in Tip. And I mentioned about County Tipperary, and he says to me,
Sleep on the Mon, the old song, Sleep on the Mon.
oh, Schlie na Mon, that comes right up out of my backyard, as a matter of fact. Schlie na Mon is a very famous mountain in County Tipperary. It means the mountain of the women. Historical story, I think it was perhaps Finn McCool, mythical hero of Irish folklore. Let it be known he was ready for a bride, and whatever woman from Ireland could make it to the top of the mountain first would be his bride. Therefore, it is Schlie na Mon, the mountain of the women. And it goes something like this. buddies back in Tipperary, especially the Malachny family. Learned that tune from Phil Malachny a long time ago in his cottage in Golden, County Tipperary. He said, if you're going to live in Tipperary, this is the tune you have to know. Thanks, Phil. I learned about 200, 300 other tunes from him as well. Immediately to Monsieur Leclercq's left, we have the famous Nico, man of many talents, many instruments, and he can actually play all of them, as opposed to some musicians I've known in the past who show up with 6 cases of instruments and have no idea what to do with any of them except drop half of them on the way out the door. But Nico has a very, very, very special instrument he'd like to play for us next. This is something I had never seen before Nico showed up with it.
Yeah. Well, this is a nyckelharpa, so it comes from the medieval times, and also it comes from Swedish countries, and it's the official national instrument of Sweden. And it looks like a violin. Yeah, you have a bow, strings, and but you have also a keyboard like a hurdy-gurdy. So that's the biggest thing to say about it. And I will try to play it.
Beautiful.
And I will try with one Swedish tune. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Like
So we have a Swedish polska,
Polska, yes, first.
and then a French polka.
Okay, yeah, we will lose the S.
We lose the S when we go to France.
Yes.
I've lost my S in France many times over the years, believe me.
The name of this tune is King Selma, and then we continue with the polka of Alfred Reed, which comes from the center of France. And there is a recent story about this tune because the name usually for this tune was polka of Alfred Reed, who was the musician who played these tunes and make it famous. But now we know the name, the real name of the composer, which comes from the 19th century, and his name is Mr. Chair, Mr. Lachaise in France. Yes. So welcome to the tune of Mr. Lachaise, which is a polka.
1, 2, 3, 4. instrument that sounds like about 1 million really pissed off bees. It is the nyckelharpa, or as we call it, the Nico
Yeah.
harpa.
Thanks.
Fascinating instrument. That's the absolute craziest thing. You may have noticed me laughing a bunch in the background because my beautiful little daughter Abigail was doing the best little rock and roll dance in the middle of all of that. I told her Abigail is learning the fiddle, doing a great job of it, and so I told her she definitely has to come down and see this crazy thing that Nico plays. So,
And I did.
and you did. So we're going to slow things down a little bit here, and we're going to have a song from Monsieur Leclercq next.
Yeah, that's a song. That's a meme from County Mayo. It's called the green and red of Mayo, which are two colors of the flag of County Mayo. It's green and red of Mayo. The green and red of Mayo, I can see it still. It's hooked and craggy bogans, its tall majestic hills, where the ocean kisses islands and the waves caress its shores. Oh, the feeling it came over me to stay forevermore, forevermore. Its rolling coastal waters, I can see profoundly speak, where one someday every summer the pilgrims climb the reef, where St. Patrick in his solitude looks down across pure faith, with the ringing of his bell, all the faithful there to pray, there to pray. Take me to Clare Island, the home of broad wave. Its coastal harbour fishes from the herring to the wave. But now I must depart it, and reality is late. With the time that passed so slowly, I set sail again, set sail again. All the green and red of Mayo, I can see it still. Its soft and craggy bogans, its tall majestic hills, where the ocean kisses islands and the waves caress its shores. All the feeling it came over me to stay forevermore, forevermore. Forevermore.
Beautiful. Lovely, lovely.
Thank you.
My goodness, surprisingly sensitive considering the musicians playing it. So, so far, we've been relatively traditional in style, I'd say. That is not something Olivier and I and Nick are famous for. We tend to get a little bit outside with tunes, and We're going to go for a little of that right now. We're going to play a very well-known, I'm sure a lot of you know this tune, called The Rights of Man. And we're going to play it one time for you, or a couple of times through, in a very traditional style. We'll stop for a second. And then we're going to play it the way...
Off the beaten track.
The little off the beaten track. Yeah, this was kind of like going to the edges of the cliffs of Moher and One Step Too Many. But singing all the way down. So, The Rights of Man. Perfectly respectable, sound, beautiful rendition of The Rights of Man. And now,
For something completely
for
different.
something completely different. See if you can still recognize The Rights of Man in the middle of all this. all.
And no, the jazz insertion.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's an insert inside. Called 9x9. That's the
1,
title.
2, 3, 4.
There you go. I know it's different. I know it's not usual. But that's also fun. As I keep on saying, have some fun with your music. Respect your tradition. Learn the tunes the right way. When you have a good knowledge of traditional music, then you can stretch it out and have a little bit of fun with it. But respect the music enough to learn a good couple of hundred tunes so you know what the music is about. Then stretch them out a little bit and have a little bit of fun with what you're playing, which is what we're going to do with this next very beautiful, very, very, very well-known tune. Again, we'll play it for you correctly so you can hear the right way to hear and play the tune. And then before we get into that, actually, I always do a thing called the tune and the tip, where I like to have my guest musicians talk a little bit about how they come up with their way of doing different tunes. So, Olivier, how do you manage to take a relatively straight ahead chord progression, aside from massive drinking?
This used to be in the past.
They can see the pints. We'll edit that. So, Olivier, one thing I like to do in the shows is to try to get some advice, a tip from the various musicians about how they approach their particular instrument or their style of playing. And I'm always amazed how you can take such a basic tune like The Rights of Man, and then you come up with these very progressive chord stylings. Could you just show that chord, slow that chord progression down a little bit and show it? It's not important what the names of the, major 42nd demonic chord or whatever.
Well, basically the way I play is more hammering style.
Mm-hmm.
So I hammer basically the bass chord, the bass strings, and most of the time what I do is soften the sound of the higher strings with the ball of my hand
So you
on
use
the
the
bridge.
side of your hand, and so you're
Just like
the
this.
pick. Oh, cool.
I don't let them resonate.
Mm-hmm.
I just go. And this inspiration comes from Neil Young, for instance.
Oh yeah.
So for this Rights of Man, I like the open chords, like those ones sound like
Very Spanish.
yes, yeah. So I go like this. Which keeps the first part very kind of dark.
Yeah.
And the second one opens widely, like just like opening a window, like
Cool. That's great. So in the first half, you're using the bottom part of your hand
Yeah.
to dampen the higher strings, and in the
That's it, yeah.
second half, you're just changing the angle of your hand
Yeah.
to let those strings ring out.
isn't it? Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Right.
All right, bro. Thank you.
So there you go. That's my buddies Olivier and Nico. And when we get together, we kind of have a little bit of fun playing a few tunes. So a little bit gets a little on the outside of the tradition. Some of the tunes coming up get a little way out of the outside of the tradition. But we have a little bit of fun, and the audience always smiles, so we can't be too far off the mark. I'd like to play for you and break down one of the tunes that you just heard in the podcast. This is, of course, the one that I played in the Thursday Tunes from the Shop. Wonderful waltz from County Tipperary, kind of the county song, if you will, for Tipperary, named after a majestic mountain that kind of raised up out of my backyard from my little cottage over there, called Slieve Naman, or the Mountain of the Women. So, just to refresh. Lovely waltz. Again, another tune that I learned from the great Phil Malachny and his wonderful little two up, two down that used to exist on the shores of the beautiful River Suir in County Tipperary. The tune is really pretty simple. Second time through, I put a couple little chromatic things in, not very much, your basic accordion style moves, just going down a half step through a couple of things. We'll take a look at those when we get to them. But one thing that I want to point out for you sharp-eyed viewers out there was I was using the keys in a few places in that tune. So I'd like to show a little bit for all of you out there with keys on your flute. They actually are of more use than just stopping the flute from rolling off the table, although they do a very good job of that. I'm going to show you especially something you can do with your C natural key, which is this one. The short one across the bottom is B flat, but this long one at the top of your flute is for C natural. And what you do is you finger a B note, and then you open that key. And the way you would usually do that in a tune is just to roll your right hand over a little bit, like that. See how the angle of my hand changes slightly? Now, the reason I'm using the C sharp key, C natural key in this tune is because you can also use that key when you play your C sharp. Because on the 6-hole flute, the C sharp is a little bit flat. And so in this case, in this tune, the C sharp is very exposed. It's a really important note. So I want that note to be in tune. So what you do is you vent the C natural key when you play C sharp, and listen to the difference. I'm not blowing any harder, I'm not blowing any differently at all. So when that C key is closed, the C sharp is kind of muted. I'm trying to get in an angle where you can see. You gain really fully about a quarter tone. So if you're playing, for example, in the key of A major or E major, where the C sharp needs to be bright. If the C sharp, if you're playing a slow air or something, you don't have to do it in the middle of your fast reels. But if you're playing waltzes or you're playing a slow air and the C sharp is really exposed, just open up that C key and it's going to make a major difference. Your intonation is going to change, your guitar player is going to smile at you, the fiddle player is going to like you because now your C sharp is in tune, okay? So that's a really good tip for today, is using your C natural key to play C naturals. Okay, very big difference. So now let's break down the tune a little bit. Nothing tricky in this tune. It's just a beautiful, gentle, simple waltz. So I don't think I have to break it down so much note for note, just playing it at a slower tempo. This is how I learned the tune from Phil. Nice and slow, nice and easy. The only tricky thing there would be using the C natural key, which I just showed for the C natural. Now for you 6-hole flute players, I'm going to play with the Healy C natural grip here. Okay, so there's your C natural. do the turnaround, I like to add a little note in there to the pickup just to keep the flow going in the tune. So I'll play the first half 2 times. So there's the whole first half of the tune. Now I think when I showed you the 6-hole style, I think I threw a false note at you. I think I threw you an A where you should have had a B, but I'm playing it correctly enough times. I'm not going to redo the whole video over that one note. I hope you don't mind. Second half. Second half is very cool. This is where you start getting these subtle little chromatic movements in the tune. So I tried to show you, don't mind the tractor going by, that's perfect. That's perfect South Tipperary, have a tractor driving by in the middle of doing something. So I tried to show you there in the first half of the B section, playing the C's. C is C natural, C sharp is C sharp. So playing the C's with the key, and then on the repeat, trying to show you the C natural, and the one part where my tone was getting a little thin because I was overemphasizing what I was trying to show is on the 6-hole flute. When you come to those C sharps, the way to raise your tone on the C sharps is just to move the flute, roll the flute out from you a little bit. I was over-exaggerating it, trying to show you that I was rolling the embouchure or the flute out, the embouchure hole out away from me, so that's why my tone got a little bit thin. But if you're playing it in a natural style, so after those couple of C sharps, it goes back to C natural again. So those C sharps are bookended by C naturals, which is why, again, on the 6-hole flute or the keyed flute, 4, 6, however many keys you have on your flute, it really helps to bring out the effect, the real coolness of that C sharp being bookended by the 2 C naturals. if you either vent your C sharp key or just on the 6-hole flute, just slightly, a little bit, roll the flute out, and that's going to bring up the intonation, the pitch of your C sharp note, because you want that contrast. It's only a half step, but you really want that contrast between your C natural and your C sharp to bring out the point that it's a C sharp, not a C natural. Now, one other little tip to show people with the fully plumbed flutes is, you notice I use this key down here is D sharp, the one on the very bottom of the flute. This is the first key that was added to flutes historically. Big reason for that is twofold. Number one, if you've ever tried to, I know the term is half-hole, but you also all know I hate the term half-hole, because you're not really half-holing it, you're more 3/4 holing it, and then using your ears to adjust the pitch, rolling in and out for the note you're trying to get. So the D sharp is really kind of a pain in the butt to get on the 6-hole flute. And it also, the E note is the one note, I talked about this on an earlier podcast, that doesn't have a sympathetic, a helper hole that raises the pitch of the note just a little bit. So the E, hole number 6, is the smallest hole on the flute. So it has the weakest, most unstable sound. So the D sharp was added to have a clear D sharp sound, and the added benefit is now your E has a sympathetic tone hole. Listen to the difference. You hear, again, the same thing with the C natural, C sharp from using this key. All of a sudden, you get, again, about another 1/4 step, depending on the design of your flute and how large your flute maker has made this 6th hole, but it will always be the smallest hole on the flute. Some guys make it a little bit larger, some make it smaller, individual preference of the maker. But if you have a D sharp key, what I like to do is kind of slide through a D sharp, kind of a ghost D sharp, if you will. When you play a D note, you close the D sharp hole, or you get a D sharp. But if you play D, and as you're going to the E, you open the D sharp hole as you're beginning to play your E note, you get this really nice little slide up into your E notes. Okay, really cool. Takes a little bit of practice, it takes a little bit of coordination, but you can use that move all over the place in your tunes. When you're playing reels, when you're playing jigs, with whatever you're playing, you can start to get a little bit more glissando, a little bit more slides into your playing, or as I like to call it, put some sleaze in the breeze. Okay, grease up those notes a little bit. Make it a little bit, because you know the eardrum works on vibrations and it notices these little micro vibrations. Your brain hears something happen, but it doesn't know what it is, so your audience immediately starts paying more attention to what you're doing unwillingly, because the brain is curious and it wants to know, what the heck was that thing I just heard? Okay? thing there. Using the G sharp key this time. See, now I'm going to get you using these keys. So right there, in Sleeve them on, for you guys, women, everybody out there, flutistas that have all of this plumbing, in this one very simple, very beautiful waltz, you can start using your D sharp key. You can start using your C natural key. And you can start using your G sharp key. Okay? All of those three moves I just showed you are a little bit timing, are a little bit feeling, but if you do a little bit of work, you can start adding some really, really interesting and fun sounds into your flute playing. Pretty soon I'm going to do a tip about how to play chromatically up and down the flute with all the plumbing, but that in the biz is what we call a tease about sleaze in the breeze. So thanks again for watching the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. In 2 weeks, we're going to have part 2 of the Healy Cartel Madness with Olivier Leclercq and Nico Hueber. Please, please, please subscribe to this ding dong, somebody just did, podcast. Cheers, everybody. See you again next Thursday for your next tune from the shop. Cheers all. Go forth and flute.